Good afternoon. It is a Tuesday afternoon, and today I'm doing a different kind of video for my video. So Danny Bauer is one of the guys who've been doing a daily video with me for the last 50 days. Although Danny would remind you that he started one day before me, so this is actually day 49 for me, and this is day 50 for Danny. So I am waiting for Danny to join us here so we can really get the conversation started. And to tell you the truth, I have never invited somebody onto a live before. So you get to watch me in real time figure out how to run a live with two people. My new philosophy in life is experiments never fail. And I think that's pretty cool. Experiments Never Fail, first of all, is a great book. If you're an entrepreneur, Danny says, I'm here. Awesome. Danny Bauer is watching. Let me see. Danny, are you able to request to join me? Because I don't see the button where I can request you to join me. And if I had a keyboard in front of me and I could play the Jeopardy theme song, I would. Ah, here it is. Danny wants to join me on video. I approve. Let's see what happens.
We're here.
We're here. Okay, this is fantastic. The electrons are flying between Georgia and Chicago.
Yes.
Awesome. All right, cool. Well, first of all, our experiment of doing two people on one live has succeeded. So that's fantastic.
Yes. Yes. We're both here.
We're both here.
Only minor technical difficulties.
Oh, yes, we can get over those. Cool.
Yeah.
So Danny, before you got on, I was explaining to the world how you are one day ahead of me in these live videos. So congratulations on
Yeah. Don't forget it.
day number 50. This is day 49 for me. So I'm celebrating one day in advance. You could say I'm a time traveler. How's that?
Yeah.
Cool.
We are in different time zones too, so we are time traveling in a way.
That is true. So what time is it really? Cool.
Right.
So Danny, day number 50. What's on your mind today?
Oh man. Well, I'm excited about this experiment. I kind of caught you saying experiments never fail. This live stream journey has been a big experiment, and I guess just even right now I'm present to how experiments lead to more experiments, where we wouldn't be live on Facebook together today, right now, if we both didn't commit to the experiment of just going live. And so that's cool. And you've been talking about on your lives a lot lately, in order to make a difference, you have to do something different. And I think right now we're doing something different because we're both striving to make a difference.
Yeah. And sometimes I realize like how little is actually required to make a difference. One of my reels that I posted, I don't know, it got 14 likes. And Facebook reminded me that I should make another reel because apparently if you get 14 likes on your reel, you have gotten more likes than 98% of reels.
Wow.
Which reminds me, 14 people isn't that many. It took me, a minute of recording and some editing, whatever, to put it up. But really, in the end, making it different, being different, is not that difficult sometimes. So that's kind of what I'm present to. Is I used to make this really big deal about making a difference has to be this really big mountain to climb. And it's really not. Sometimes it's just one step.
Yeah.
The first step up the mountain.
Yeah. yesterday I was messaging somebody who watched my video yesterday, who regularly watches, and was just talking to her, thanking her, and she wrote, "Thank you for the terrific video yesterday."
Hmm.
And that was so cool because it's like a former version of me would never consider that I could just hit go live on my phone and start talking, and somebody could say that was a terrific video. I always, for maybe if some of your audience is watching, I'm a piano player, performer, composer, singer, entertainer, and I like being over the top for sure. Um, but I've kind of lived in this, like, you have to be over the top if you're gonna entertain people. It's got to have all the bells and whistles. It can't just be talking. But I've been doing this experiment of just talking, and it has been entertaining people and inspiring people and helping people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, and one thing has I realized over the course of this journey is because to record 49 days in a row, you have to come up with roughly 49 different ways to say the same thing, or 49 different things, or something, right? And sometimes I have caught myself not really sure what to talk about. And as I kind of went through, I was like, well, what have I done to talk about, right? I kind of, well, that's not that important. That's not that important. And I realized I've made a pretty good history before of when I did record videos, I would talk about an experience somebody else had that they shared with me, or I'd use an object lesson of, like, I was watching a video from a couple of years ago, just yesterday, that I recorded. And it was an object lesson with a rubber band. We're not useful unless we're stretched, right? And I never made a point, I never made a practice of being vulnerable, telling my story about me, what I'm experiencing. I was always talking about what somebody else experienced, or I was using an inanimate object as an object lesson. And this journey for me has been one of realizing, just embracing the imperfection of talking about what I'm learning, what I'm experiencing. And right now there are 3 people watching. I don't know necessarily who they are. I don't know what they're thinking. That was difficult for me at first, to just speak what's going on in my life with really no feedback other than how many people are watching. And how much more comfortable I am 7 weeks later than I was, 7 weeks ago. And in the grand scheme of things, 7 weeks isn't that long to practice something.
Right.
So I'm seeing it doesn't have to be that difficult. It doesn't have to be that big of a deal. The step doesn't have to be that big. When Neil Armstrong stepped on the moon, it was literally 1 step.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like the smaller the step, the better. Almost. I mean, you can take big steps sometimes, but I think people like you and me. Hello, Kristen. Thanks for being here. I think people like you and me are the types of people where we dream big, we see big, we value personal growth, we value making a difference, and I think we can set our sights so high that making a difference is up here. We don't even notice the small steps, and I think this has helped me look at the small steps. And I'll say that I've been making videos on and off for about 8 years, and until this year, I was never, ever, ever happy with the number of people that saw what I was doing. And it didn't. I've had a couple videos get 10,000 views. I've had one get 60,000 views. I had one I ran ads on that has like 300,000 views, and it was never enough, never enough. And now with these lives and other videos I'm making, I still look at the number. I don't think that's ever going to go away. I want the number on the screen to go up, but that's way less important than when I go to a show and somebody comes up to me and goes, "Danny, your video was really helpful." It's like that's what I'm looking for way more than when I'm looking at the number of how many people are watching. It's it's coming from a place of ego, a selfish place. And when I'm looking for, when I really take the time to appreciate people going out of their way to thank me for making my videos because they're helpful in some way, that's it's focused on service. It's focused on them. It's not focused on um, my ego, basically. And this has been a really cool. I guess what's interesting is getting on the internet to talk mostly unscripted every day has actually, I think, maybe the biggest surprising insight of it is the humility that has come with it. Where I think I maybe had a story that people that get on the internet and talk about themselves every day are full of themselves. And that story might have been blocking me from having the courage to get on here and talk about myself. And I'm seeing I'm actually less full of myself than I was before I started doing this. I think um I'm as I'm getting bigger with my influence, I'm getting smaller with my desire to impress people.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting how you put that. I think so often we create these untrue paradoxes about life and the stories that we create. I mean, like the one you just said, people who speak on the internet must be full of themselves, and yet what you've experienced is, as you've shown up authentically to speak on the internet, you have experienced this not fake or false humility, but a true humility. You have, and I wonder, is it because you have seen more of who you are authentically as you do it? And when we see ourselves for the humans that we are, I think it's hard to be proud because we create this level, we level out, or at least I've experienced that I level out the playing field. When I see myself as a human being, it allows me to see others as human beings, and it levels out the playing field instead of creating these like buckets. Well, that person's full of himself, that person's got a lot of money, that person has no talent, right? And when we level out the playing field and take people out of the buckets and just say, hey, we got something in common because we are human beings. And even as you were talking about not paying attention to the numbers, I think the moment that I've found that I pay attention to the numbers or the number of clients that I have, or like any metric about serving people, I take the connection that I could be having, and I'm literally like extracting the possibility of connection by focusing on something that's not connection,
Yeah.
right? And then the person watching just becomes a number. Nobody wants to be a number,
Right.
right? I mean, you know the experience of walking into the DMV and literally being B36, and you're just waiting for B36 to be called, right? Nobody
Yeah.
wants to be in the DMV, and yet how many times in life have I created a DMV experience for other people around me?
Yeah. Yeah.
I've never said
Yeah.
it that way,
Don't.
but I've never said it that way before, and yet I have because I've made numbers out of people, you know?
Yep. Yep. Man, that's beautifully put. Yeah, it's absolutely. And I've been having more success getting like people to my shows and stuff by I used to think about it's like, oh, I want to play a show for 400 people, and I really was picturing 400 blank faces, 400 just like bodies in a room. And now it's like I want my friend Carly to be there. I want my friend Jameson to be there. I want Andy to be there. It's like there's people who I am in community with. And it's like I know that my show can help them, help this person. And if I can help this person with my music and I can tell them and get them there, the result might be 400 people show up to the show, but it's so much more meaningful to that those it's yeah. I'm just kind of reiterating. That's a great way to put it. Don't be a DMV experience for people. I wrote a song last year. It was like, no one's having fun at the DMV. It's not the place I wanna be.
It's not the place you want to be, and yet, man, I'm thinking about the number of times that I have just fallen through life, just handing out numbers.
Mm-hmm.
People, you're just number, yeah. And the irony of the whole thing is, more than anything, Danny, I desperately wanted a connection with those people, and yet I didn't see yet. It's not that I wasn't willing. I didn't see yet that in order to have a connection with them, I had to see myself differently so that I could see them differently. Because I mean, in essence, I guess what I saw myself in terms of others was just a number to other people, and that wasn't about the other people, right? That was about how I was creating the world that I was living in. Um, I was creating a DMV experience for myself,
Yeah.
and then I was turning around and doing that with others. And the moment that I realized and chose that I could stop seeing people for their achievements or for their lack of achievements was the moment I could see them as human beings. And immediately, it's as if the numbers just evaporated. And all of a sudden, I was creating connection because I had shifted and I had changed. And it wasn't about them. They were the same people.
Yeah.
It was the same people.
Can you pinpoint that moment? What was that moment? Or maybe it's a string of
I
moments.
think it's a string of moments, but they were all tied to coaching sessions that I had with my coach, Tracy. And it was all around um, this distinction between being a human being and a human doing. And I had never heard that distinction before Tracy introduced it to me. And the moment she said those words, even before she explained what the distinction was and explored it, I understood the concept of it because I had been a human doing most of my life, right? My value, the way that I saw my value in the world was how much I could accomplish and how much I could do and how much I could impress you, right? So I was out to impress, I was out to do, and I was out to perform because, well, I like to value myself, and that's the only way to value. And when I realized that that was at odds with being a human being and being okay with being imperfect and being okay with being different, that's when this massive weight that I had worn for 34, 35 years of my life just lifted. And it was it was a very small distinction. I mean, human being, human doing, and yet I'm shifting my chair here, right? That allowed me to completely see the world in a whole different way. And I look back at that Derek, knowing that that Derek was what brought me to be this Derek. And yet that Derek I see lived such a burdened, frustrated life because he thought that he had to perform in order to be valuable. He had to do amazing things in order to be valuable. And they were never, to your point, they were never good enough. They were never amazing enough. They were never great enough. There was this endless pursuit of achievement, which was very unfulfilling. And then I realized I didn't have to do that anymore. And life has never been the same. How cool is that?
Yeah. I think I've gone through a similar transformation in roughly the past 2 to 3 months. So I actually it was through talking with you. I had a realization about how much energy I have spent trying to impress my dad.
Hmm.
And then I think by extension of that, everyone. And we talked about that, and then I called my dad and I told him, it's like, hey, I think I've been doing this. And he was like, oh, you don't need to impress me. He's like, you're most impressive to me when you're just being yourself. And just saying that, what's coming up is it's fascinating how we can have stories dictating our lives that we don't even know we're telling. And I think we've been working together for going into our third year now, and we've uncovered you have helped me uncover a lot of stories about myself. And then just coming to this one, February of 2023, a month before I turned 31 years old, it's like crazy. It's like just looking back, it's like, yeah, that was dictating a lot of my life. I would do things, and then the first thing I would want to do is tell my dad about it because I wanted him to be proud of me. And I still want my dad to be proud of me, but I'm seeing that story was blocking me from just accepting myself and being able to say, Danny, you're going to do this because you want to. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be to make your dad impress your dad or impress this girl or whatever. It's just I did a short stream this morning, and I came to a cool thing. I was talking about the success versus significance. Mm-hmm. And I came up with some I words. When I'm focused on success, I'm focused on impressing people. And when I'm focused on significance, I'm focused on impacting people. And I think that's been a shift. And to focus on success, impressing people or success, well, yeah, focusing on impressing people is trying to impress people, just what you're talking about. And as I've stopped focusing on impressing people, and I've been willing to let the parts of me that maybe I've carried shame with or been embarrassed about just come more to the front, I'm realizing that those might be some people's favorite parts of me. And,
Hmm.
and that people, so I've gotten on this on my stream before and been in a bad mood. Just been like, hey, I'm in a bad mood today. And then people will message me later and say that was my favorite one. It's like, how about that? Like maybe I don't have to be Mr. Everything's happy, everything's great all the time. And maybe because I'm a human, I should express the full range of human emotion. And that's a way to give other people permission to express their full scope of human emotion as well.
And so what do you, as you've experienced that, I don't have to show up a certain way, I can show up expressing whatever range of emotion is there. As you've experienced that, what possibilities do you see for you because of that you didn't see before 50 days ago?
I think the first thing that comes to mind is I have a lot of friends, which might be kind of a surprising thing to come from that, but I've been in Chicago 3 years and more of 3.5 years, and I have had a story of isolation the whole time I've been here. And even though I've been around people a lot and I've interacted with a lot of people, and I bet a lot of people considered me their friend, I didn't really believe I had friends. And I think it was because of this story of you have to show up to make other people happy. And if you can't show up to make other people happy, they're not going to value you and they're not going to want to be around you. So I was only ever showing a portion of me to people. And I don't know if you know this, but if you don't let people in, you're never really going to consider them a friend. You're never going to feel safe. I never felt safe to share things that were hurting me, or just be able to say, hey, something cool. Back in February, I went over to my buddy Evan's house to play music, and I showed up, and Evan was like, how you doing, Danny? And I said, Evan, I'm really missing this girl. I'm really missing this girl I was dating who I'm not dating anymore. And he was like, oh yeah, and just sat with me for a minute. And then Luke showed up, and then we played music. And I remember while we were playing music, just having so much fun and just being totally with the music. And I realized it's like, Evan's my friend. I can tell him I'm sad, and then then I'm not sad anymore, as opposed to pretending like I'm happy and being sad the whole time.
Yes. It's that manufactured facade is in, I was going to say it's inhumane. We usually use inhumane to talk about, as cross countries, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yet I think it can also apply here because we are doing a massive, I'm saying we because I've done this before too, right? We do a massive disservice to the people around us to manufacture a facade that we think is going to serve them because it selfishly serves us. When the most, the most, what's the word I'm looking for? Whole thing we could do for either of us is to be honest, to be human, to be imperfect. And I think along the lines of what you're talking about with this manufacturing of what we're showing up is, I made this comment a couple days ago. I said, I'm so grateful to be in a place today where I have access to so many more people than I've ever had access to get advice and wisdom from. And as I was saying it, I realized it's actually not true. I've always had a number of people around me, but I felt I had to put on this facade of perfection. I had to put on this facade of I knew everything, right? I held knowledge as the trump card. It was how I was valuable. And so if I ever told somebody I needed help, I was literally just throwing my trump card away. But the way I saw it was that there was nobody around me to ask for advice, which from the way I was creating the world was true, even though the way the world was outside, it wasn't
Yeah.
true, right?
Your your
And so,
your outer world is a reflection of your inner world.
yes, yes. And so I created this reality, the story for myself where I didn't have people around me I could ask advice for. When I look back and I realize, holy cow, there was a lot of people I could have asked advice from. And the best thing I could have done for me and for them is to say, hey, can we go to lunch? I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Hey, Allie, welcome from work for a couple minutes.
Well, before we wrap up here, should we talk about this class real quick?
Yes, go for it. Yes.
All right. So yeah, Derek and I, we are launching a course called 90 Days to Unlock Your Creative Potential. And we will be doing a webinar together on May 12th to present what our idea with the class is, and give you an opportunity to sign up and register. So
Yeah.
we believe that we believe everyone is creative, and we believe that if you aren't living out your creative dreams, that all that's in the way is a story. We've just been talking about stories that were in the way for the past 20 minutes, and there's a story you are telling yourself that we know we could help shift the way you're seeing that story, so that you could take small steps of courage that you've never taken before to start living your life. And yeah, we're launching that course. It'll be over the summer, and I'm really excited about it. This is an experiment for both of us, which I think is a great way to live life, experimenting.
Yes, experiments never fail. That is my new philosophy. The reason what I'm really excited about for in the class is because I used to be the guy who had so many ideas, and I had no idea how to execute on them. And I saw this gap between where I was and where I could be, and I had no idea how to close it. There were all kinds of things I saw other people doing that I wanted to do, and what I didn't realize was I was creating a way to be stuck. And what Danny and I have both experienced and continue to experience is that there's some insights, just basic fundamental insights that have allowed us to do the things that we never thought possible, to take the ideas and execute on them. And so I'm excited and anticipate a really good time of sharing our stories and some insights. And I think they'll resonate. If you see yourself as a creative, I think you'll benefit a lot from the insights and what's possible there for you. So we'll put a link to register for it in the comments here. And it's an experiment. We've never done one together like this before, and I'm really excited about experimenting because we'll see what comes from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Well, I guess we got 2 minutes left. Do you have anything you wanna say for some closing thoughts for the people?
Closing thoughts. Let me see. So I wrote down, what have I learned in the last 49 days? Because I'm not at 50 days yet. And I think the number one thing for me that keeps on coming back up is this idea about commitment on the front end and accountability on the back end. And making a commitment with Danny, and there's a couple others that we're doing this with, and then the accountability that we know that we are making alive each day, not together necessarily, but having that commitment and that accountability has been a game changer for me in this way. And I wish I discovered that little formula before, but I didn't. So here I am, and now I have it for the rest of my life. Commitment and accountability. Yeah. What about you, Danny? Closing thoughts?
Yeah, I'll say. Well, so that's the question. We talked about questions we are going to ask. I was going to ask what insight have you gained that's been most surprising or interesting. So I'll answer that. Yeah. I'll say that I have created a new definition of creativity for myself, where my new definition of creativity is a simplified one. It's Creativity is executing ideas. That's all it is. So if you have an idea and you execute it, that is a creative choice. And I used to think because I've had all these ideas, but I've had these ideas where it's like, oh, what if I made this music video and we had a helicopter and this and this and this and this, and I had these ideas that I couldn't execute on.
Mr. Beast it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have Mr. Beast budget, but I'd want to make a Mr. Beast video. And so lately I've been having so much fun. I make a whole bunch of reels, like music reels and comedy reels, and I kind of come up with ideas that it's like, can I execute this idea in 20 minutes? And then all of a sudden I'm making 3+ videos a day. And it's like, oh, what if I laid on the floor in my kitchen and on my battery powered keyboard played a Mario song? Just like, I can execute that right now. I do it real quick. And yeah, well, I'll share this real quick. One of my videos, I literally, for my song Egg Boy, I cooked eggs, I sang the song, and I cracked an egg on my head. And on Instagram, that has 13,000 views. And it took me 15 minutes plus a shower to make the video, which is not a whole lot of time. And as opposed to when I used to make videos, it was a 5+ hour endeavor. It was like, this has to be a huge thing or else it doesn't count as creative. And so that's been a really, really powerful transformation in my life.
So it's almost as if, as I hear you saying that you had creativity and perfection locked together, and it's almost as if you've unlocked them and see them as necessarily separate.
Yeah. And I'll share this really quick. Just maybe yesterday or 2 days ago, I was thinking to myself, I was kind of laughing to myself. I said, I like when things go wrong. It's like when I go see music, when the band starts to mess up and all of a sudden they're in a hole and they're trying to work their way out of the hole. I like that. I like when a presenter gets feedback on his microphone and it's awkward, and I like when things are imperfect. I like when the cracks show through. So yet here I am when I'm choosing to make art, I think it has to be perfect. And so I'm maybe even taking a step further and saying I'm going to throw away perfection in my life. I'm not really interested in that so much anymore.
Human beings are imperfect. It is a human being condition to be imperfect.
Yeah.
Wow. Cool. Well, Danny, we only have 315 more days.
Yeah.
And more if we choose to keep going. So cool. Well, congratulations on the 50 days. Thank you for doing this with me.
Yes.
I've had a lot of fun. And here's to many, many, many more videos.
Absolutely.
We'll talk later. We always do.
Yep.
Bye,
See
Danny.
you.